As Federal Parliament prepares to debate the carbon tax next week, the industry is being targeted. They're still trying to work out how they'll be affected. And when it comes to landfill, it appears the carbon tax will be borne by householders.
Monday's collection day, bang out the bins, full of empty bottles and little fishy pins.
They're the sins of the past. Millions of tonnes of waste that went into landfill before reuse and recycling became household buzzwords. The rubbish is long out of sight and out of mind, but its legacy lives on.
The hamburger that you threw away at the football in 1991 is still in the landfill and it's still producing gas.
Methane, to be exact, which smells like rotten eggs and can explode in high concentrations. It's also thought to be about 20 times more damaging than carbon dioxide, and that's made landfill a target of the government's carbon tax.
The cost of the carbon tax or the emission trading scheme eventually is an additional cost that comes from the legislation, and that will be passed through to the waste generator. So there will be an increase in cost for waste generators.
The federal government says that means average households will be paying about 70 cents a week more through ways such as increased council rates. South Australia, though, should fare much better.
The worst case scenario is probably something in the 20 to 25 cents a week per household level. But that does depend on a number of factors that we don't yet know, so it's a bit difficult to estimate.
We did some quick calculations.
The state is better placed, he says, because of a long history of good behaviour. When Dennis Ryan moved into his Elizabeth Vale home 46 years ago, all his rubbish went to landfill. Now he puts the rubbish bin out about once a fortnight.
I suppose as time changes, we've changed, then obviously it's just a normal thing you do now, where before you probably didn't have those recyclable containers or green waste, but you do have them now and we use them.
One of the things we do have as an advantage in South Australia is that we do particularly well at diverting waste from landfill, and that's due to a whole series of recycling programs that councils and others have instituted, and things like our container deposit system that have trained people, if you like, to be very good about what they recycle.
Monday's collection day, bang out the bins, full of empty bottles and little fishy pins.
The Landfill Owners Association estimates methane in existing landfills equates to around 8 million tonnes of carbon dioxide. It could have been a carbon tax goldmine for the government, but it's been spared.
It's incorrect to penalise the landfill operator for conditions that occurred before the Act came into force. So a date has been set, and it's the 30th of June next year, so that all the waste that's landfilled up to that date is legacy waste and will not attract the tax.
Instead, legacy waste, which includes that hamburger from 1991, could generate tax offsets under the recently legislated carbon farming initiative. It's mostly for farmers, but also aims to encourage landfill sites to deal with methane from old rubbish.
So initially we're flaring it, which has an environmental benefit, so the methane itself isn't venting off up into the air. So by burning it, we're producing carbon dioxide and water, which is a lot better for the environment.
Burning methane turns it into carbon dioxide, but that's deemed better than letting it escape as is. But methane can also be a source of power, and that's what David Diprose hopes will happen here near Blakeview within 12 months.
But in terms of the estimates from this site, they're talking about electricity for about 1,000 homes, and they're talking about that electricity lasting 25 to 30 years.
The industry says cutting the volume of waste will be the best way to reduce the cost of the carbon tax. The South Australian government is introducing new measures to cut waste going into landfill. This month it became illegal to put white goods and cars into landfill, the latest in a line of items banned from dump sites. The industry, though, says ultimately householder behaviour will determine how costly the tax turns out.
and we operate a 3-bin system. So we're relying on people in their homes, Joe Public if you like, source separating we call it, so separating waste and recycling into 3 bins, and the residual waste is what comes up here to the landfill.
Keep Australia beautiful, up goes the cry.
Landfills will encourage their customers to reduce the organic load that's in the waste stream. In other words, they'll be asking their customers to remove food and green waste and paper from the waste stream. The food and the green waste will go to composting, where no methane is produced and therefore no tax, and the paper will go for reprocessing. Once again, no methane, no tax.
All the city guys.